Unlocking a woman's heart isn't about grand gestures or memorized pickup lines. It's about understanding her as a person, connecting on a deeper level, and respecting the unique world she navigates. Everyone desires love, but so many of us stumble when trying to foster it. Imagine this for a moment. There she is, a woman who captivates you entirely. Someone you want to know beyond just fleeting smiles or polite hellos. Her heart feels like it's locked behind a door that only a select few hold the key to. But I have news for you. The key isn't hidden. It's about stepping away from the surface-level mechanics of attraction and learning the language of authentic connection. Here's the truth. From the moment she wakes up, the world piles expectations on her shoulders. Imagine standing in her shoes for just one day. She's navigating impossible standards for beauty, career success, relationships. The list goes on. Social media floods her with polished perfection. Friends or family may expect her to check all the boxes, and society at large bombards her with mixed messages about identity and worth. Yet, through this, she's looking for someone who sees her, not the projection she shows the world. Relationships built on pretense crumble eventually, but relationships built on trust, those endure. Through the insights we'll explore, you'll open up the possibility of a bond that's grounded, balanced and fulfilling for both of you. By pouring your energy into these observations and techniques, you'll realize something surprising. The act of unlocking her heart starts with unlocking a better version of yourself. Every relationship has an unspoken exchange. Approval. It's often a primary driver in how two people interact. Whether we're conscious of it or not, someone usually subtly seeks approval while the other holds it. But here's the crucial distinction. Women often prioritize emotional understanding. In this dynamic, while men may lean into logic. Recognizing this contrast can change how you approach connection. Think about her day-to-day reality. There's a constant current urging her to seek approval from friends, peers, family, and even strangers online. A compliment on her latest picture, words of praise from her boss, acknowledgement from her loved ones. Approval is almost a currency in her world, one society has wired her to value since a young age. When you enter her world offering more approval-seeking behavior, you blend into the background noise she's been navigating all her life. Instead of chasing her validation, focus on embodying stability. Hold your ground. When you refrain from leaning too heavily on her approval, you subtly position yourself as someone different, someone who isn't caught in life's one-sided transactional exchanges. She's used to being the fulcrum everyone measures against. Be the one who offers her emotional safety by showing you're already fulfilled on your own. This doesn't mean ignoring her entirely or feigning disinterest. Connection thrives when there's a balance in the dynamic. Rather than amplifying her emotional workload, be the anchor she instinctively feels safe leaning on. Self-assuredness is magnetic. It tells her you're there by choice, not desperation. Here's the paradox about impressing people. The harder you push, the more they tend to pull back. Why? Because trying too hard shifts the dynamic in a way that unintentionally hands the power over to the other person. This applies doubly to romantic situations. Women, who often have a heightened radar for emotional nuance, can sense when your effort is fueled by fear of rejection versus genuine connection. Imagine a scenario where you're constantly working to wow someone. You overthink your words, amp up your gestures, or obsess about the perfect plan to show how invested you are. While your intentions might be noble, your behavior signals a lack of confidence. It creates an unspoken subtext of you choose me, validate me. And though that may sound harsh, it sets the tone for an imbalanced interaction. Instead, picture yourself in a conversation with her where you're at ease, not striving to win her. Confidence comes through clarity. You're sharing ideas and indulging in the energy of the interaction, not measuring it against validation checkpoints. This change in posture transforms the dynamics entirely. You're no longer working to impress. You're enjoying the process of knowing her while giving her the room and freedom to do the same. Drake once said, "Know yourself," and while he may have been talking about fame, it applies perfectly here. When you know who you are and carry yourself like someone who's already valuable, her perception will shift. Confidence isn't loud or showy, it's calm, subtle, and magnetic. Once you stop trying to impress, you'll unlock a version of yourself that people naturally gravitate toward, including her. Nobody likes admitting how much they care about what others think. But here's the thing, internal pressure to gain approval is human. It's baked into our biology as social creatures. Problem is, that pressure can sabotage your best intentions long before you say or do anything meaningful. Have you noticed how easy it is to spiral into overthinking when you're trying to impress someone? Maybe you send a text and stress over the reply or lack of reply. Maybe you craft an elaborate compliment and wonder if you went too far. That pressure is easy to fall into because part of you wants that validation. But if you don't recognize it, it drives your behavior in ways that feel unnatural, and unnatural is rarely attractive. The first step here? Awareness. Own the fact that you instinctively care about what she thinks, but don't give that pressure the steering wheel of your life. Redirect those emotions towards something constructive. Focus on being present in the conversation. Redirect your thoughts from, "Am I enough?" to, "Am I enjoying this interaction?" She will sense this difference. She'll notice when you're confident enough to engage without needing an external approval boost. And when you maintain that presence over time, the entire dynamic shifts to one built on authenticity and balanced energy. Here's a mindset shift that can unlock new opportunities for you. Stop trying to impress and simply focus on connection. When your goal transforms from winning her over to sharing an interesting moment, everything becomes easier and more natural. This change in mindset can feel challenging at first. Years of conditioning might tell you that charm and over-the-top enthusiasm are how you gain attraction. But how often has that approach actually led to meaningful connections? Relaxing into the idea that you're not responsible for creating a wow moment every 10 minutes eases the immense pressure most people carry on dates and in new relationships. Take a moment and repeat this to yourself before your next interaction with someone you're drawn to. I don't need to impress her. I just need to be me. Internalizing this lets you focus your energy on showing your genuine self instead of bending over backward to be someone you're not. Over time, this shift solidifies your ability to stay grounded. You'll notice interactions flowing more naturally, and this authenticity is what keeps her engaged. Authenticity builds her curiosity, and curiosity is one of the strongest sparks of attraction. When it comes to attraction, simplicity often wins the day. You don't need a playbook stacked with strategies. All you need are two things: balance between withholding validation and expressing what you admire. Here's why this works. If you constantly pour out approval, it risks feeling empty. Imagine receiving compliments from someone who praises every detail endlessly. At some point, it loses its effect, right? On the flip side, if you never reveal what you appreciate in someone, you risk coming across cold or indifferent. Balancing these two creates a middle ground where interactions feel meaningful but never excessive. For example, instead of rattling off compliments, allow moments of admiration to arise naturally. Maybe she shares a story about overcoming a challenge, and you casually say, "That's pretty cool. Most people wouldn't have handled it like that." Feedback like this shows you're paying attention without smothering her with words. Balanced validation also encourages her to meet your standards, not through pressure, but through the quiet influence of shared energy. Strive for this balance, and you'll find her drawn to you for how effortlessly value flows between you both. Validation is a powerful currency in relationships, but like any currency, it loses its value if it's handed out too freely. When you validate someone excessively, be it through constant compliments, overwhelming attention, or relentless praise, it can come across as insincere. Even the most well-intentioned words can feel hollow when overused, but when done thoughtfully and sparingly, validation can become an impactful way to deepen attraction. Here's what withholding validation doesn't mean. It's not about playing games, ignoring her, or being cold. It's about being intentional with the praise you give and the moments you choose to focus on. By doing so, your attention becomes something meaningful rather than something she just expects out of habit. Think about her perspective. Any individual, especially someone who's constantly bombarded with compliments on social media or general attention in daily life, learns to filter out generic admiration. The same, "That dress looks amazing," comment she's heard 100 times today doesn't register because it feels impersonal. What does register? Praise that's specific, genuine, and timed for when it matters most. For example, instead of commenting on her appearance for the 10th time, remark positively on her actions or personality. When she shares an accomplishment or expresses vulnerability, that's the moment to say, "I admire how persistent you are. That's inspiring." This kind of validation doesn't come off as obligatory. It feels earned, and that makes it deeply reinforcing. By resisting the urge to constantly validate smaller, trivial things, you not only refine her perception of your words, but also ensure that when you do speak up, she listens. It creates a dynamic where your attention becomes more valuable simply because it's honest and rare. Every person has certain preferences when it comes to who they feel most connected with. And yes, women want to feel desired. But here's the catch. A woman doesn't want to feel like she's conforming to a checklist in order to win you over. She wants to feel like you've noticed her individuality and that your preferences are expressed as a reflection of your values, not as demands. Communicating your preferences, a crucial part of attraction, should feel like a natural piece of conversation, not an interview requirement. This is where casual communication excels. For example, instead of saying, "I only date women who are ambitious," shift the tone. You might bring up a discussion about, say, successful people you admire, saying something like, "I really respect people who go after things they're passionate about. It just shows so much character." When you casually share qualities you find important, you allow her room to connect without feeling pressured or judged. This technique works particularly well because it's indirect. Rather than focusing the spotlight on her, it creates an opportunity for her to reflect and naturally show her alignment with those traits. Equally important is keeping the vibe playful and conversational. Don't force the discussion to circle back to your ideal traits. Instead, create dialogue about shared perspectives. She may love the idea of being quirky or funny once she sees how much you value those qualities in general. This easy exchange helps her see herself through your positive lens organically, rather than as a critique of what she might lack. Here's a key to building more balance in the interaction. Practice the art of selective reaction. Not everything she says or does requires an over-the-top response. When you react to every single contribution with overwhelming enthusiasm, you risk diluting the impact of your attention. Instead, filter your responses in a way that reflects genuineness and high standards. Think about this dynamic in terms of value. If you react to absolutely everything she says, she doesn't need to put in much effort to capture your interest. But when your reactions are reserved for truly noteworthy comments, behaviors, or actions, you subtly communicate a higher value. Your appreciation becomes something that requires engagement and thought. For instance, picture a conversation. She shares a funny story about her childhood, and though it's cute and endearing, it's not something that truly blows you away. Instead of overreacting with, "Oh my gosh, you're hilarious," you could simply chuckle and acknowledge the moment with a smile. Save your more enthusiastic responses for moments that genuinely stand out, like when she opens up about a meaningful challenge she faced or offers a sharp, witty insight. By reacting selectively, you create an energy of mystery. She'll instinctively want to work a little harder to earn your attention. This doesn't mean you're dismissive or aloof, but rather that your reactions have depth. You're the kind of person who doesn't scatter approval everywhere, but when it's given, it's sincere and impactful. While admiration may feel natural when you're drawn to someone, curiosity is a far more effective tool to establish connection. If you're constantly in awe of someone, complimenting them excessively, or showering them with flattery, it puts them in a heightened position while subtly diminishing your own standing. On the other hand, approaching her with genuine curiosity creates an even playing field, where getting to know her feels mutual and organic. Start by asking thoughtful questions. Don't just default to surface-level questions like, "Where are you from?" or "What's your favorite color?" Dig deeper. Ask her why she's passionate about her career. What's a life experience that changed her perspective? If you notice her bringing up a recurring theme, like a love of travel or a specific hobby, take the opportunity to dig into the layers beneath. The beauty of curiosity lies in how it creates space for her individuality to shine. You're not just asking questions to fill silence. You're showing her that you value her story and want to see beyond the surface. Additionally, curiosity adds an air of unpredictability. She can't fully predict your next question or remark, which keeps the conversation dynamic and engaging. What's important to note here is that curiosity removes the pressure for instant attraction. You're not rushing to express how much you adore her every move. Instead, you're taking time to understand her on a deeper level. This relaxed approach builds emotional intimacy faster and with far more authenticity than admiration alone. Have you been in situations where the entire dynamic of a conversation flips? One moment, you're engaged in a two-sided exchange, but the next, you're on the defensive, bombarded with endless questions about your life while losing control of the energy. It happens more often than you think. Many men fall into the trap of becoming overly revealing too soon, unintentionally putting the other person in a dominant conversational role. The balance of control in a conversation is vital. It's not about winning or losing, but about ensuring effortless flow. Women appreciate when a conversation feels like a dance, where neither party is dominating the other. To maintain this balance, keep your answers concise and intriguing. Instead of spilling every detail about your weekend, respond with just enough to pique her interest, then shift the spotlight back to her. For example, if she asks you how your day was, avoid giving a generic play-by-play. Instead, say something simple yet engaging, like, "It was pretty good. I had an interesting project at work. What about you? What's been the highlight of your day?" This shows that while you're open to sharing, you're also invested in her perspective. When done consistently, this conversational style keeps things dynamic and ensures that you maintain control without shutting her out. It becomes a give-and-take exchange where she feels both acknowledged and understood, which naturally deepens connections. Finally, one of the most subtle yet effective ways to tip the dynamic of attraction is by encouraging her to impress you. Sounds counterintuitive? It's not. Attraction should always feel reciprocal. While you're working to build intrigue and connection, you also want her to feel inspired to win your admiration. This doesn't mean you outright challenge her to jump through hoops to gain your approval. It's much more about creating an environment of light-hearted engagement where she has the space to showcase her strengths. For instance, if she mentions a talent or skill, lean into it. "Wow, that's impressive. I've always struggled with learning. Insert activity. How did you get so good at it?" The key here is framing your humility or self-deprecation in a way that highlights her abilities. This quiet acknowledgement creates a natural opportunity for her to open up further, take pride in herself, and invest more energy into the interaction. When done authentically, this builds mutual respect, admiration, and ultimately, stronger attraction. By the time you reach this stage, the dynamic in your interactions will have shifted toward a more balanced, magnetic connection. It's no longer about unlocking her heart as a single isolated action. It's about fostering ongoing trust, intrigue, and emotional safety that make her want to open up to you, not because she needs to, but because she truly feels you've earned it. Unlocking a woman's heart isn't magic. It's about understanding. These steps, while subtle, are effective because they focus on creating meaningful, authentic bonds rather than relying on superficial tactics. With patience, self-awareness, and practice, you'll realize that genuine connection always outshines any shortcut to attraction.